Low-rise homes are back, and they're back in a big way. Things are changing really, really quickly right now on the Toronto real estate landscape, and that change is primarily being driven by low-rise homes, meaning detached and semi-detached homes. Now with less than 1 month's worth of supply, inventory is extremely, painstakingly, excruciatingly tight, and we are seeing prices for quality properties going for really big numbers, like huge numbers in multiple offers. On the low-rise side of things, it's really starting to feel and look like the peak of the market was behaving March 2022, which is just amazing even to hear myself say, because at the beginning of the year, nobody thought we would be in this position this early on into 2023. So, all the way across the city, boots on the ground, from Plater Estates to Roncesvalles to North York, really what we're seeing right now is tons of buyer activity and prices really selling for these record-breaking numbers. So the question really is, question number one is, with interest rates at 5% and you have a stress test putting buyers having to qualify over 7%, the question really is, how is this possible at these prices? And the second question is okay, well, if that's where we are right now, then what does that mean for the rest of 2023? All great questions. I'm Ralph Fox, and I am the co-founder and broker of record of Foxmarin Associates, and we are a boutique real estate residential brokerage that focuses on central and downtown Toronto. While real estate by nature is hyper-local, the purpose of this playlist, Real Talk, is to discuss economic and geopolitical macro events that could have a significant impact and shape the future of Toronto real estate. So if you'd like to keep abreast of what's coming around the corner, please, please, please smash that subscribe button down below. And if you have any comments, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. So right now, the name of the game is low inventory, and that's because virtually nobody is selling. And really, why would they? Because in this market climate, where are they going to go? Our thesis at Foxmarin going into 2023 was that most people would just hunker down and we would be in a very low transaction climate. And that's exactly what's happening. What's really, really interesting to see is the amount of demand and the confidence that buyers have right now in the market. And I think it's really surprising. We've seen a 400 basis point increase in interest rates. And at the same point in time, inflation now is supposedly coming down and back under control. The Bank of Canada has paused. Employment is really strong, and people are spending. You just have to go out to a restaurant and see what's happening. And, there's really no sort of fear of a recession, at least at this point in time. So in this climate of stability, a lot of buyers are starting to come out of the woodwork. But what's really interesting is these buyers, at least the ones that we're seeing and working with, tend to be cash buyers, and they're buyers that are not buying based on income. They're based on really large deposits or even buying properties right now outright. And so these type of buyers, they're not affected by interest rates, and they're not affected by the stress test. They're really affected by their confidence and their belief in what the future values of Toronto real estate are going to be in the future. And right now, there seems to be a ton of confidence, almost a fear of missing out. FOMO is definitely starting to come back into the low-rise segment. So this is really, really interesting because, again, as I said earlier, nobody expected us to be in this position. So things to look out for right now is, number one, when we look at the Toronto real estate market, we look at asset classes. So we look at high-rise condos. And then on top of that, we look at low-rise, meaning semi-detached and detached homes. And when the gap takes off too much is what we're starting to see now, meaning that low-rise home prices are accelerating while condos are relatively flat. What that means is that over time, we could start to see a lot of low-rise buyers being pushed into the condo market. That could ignite the condo market. We've seen this happen many times before. It's still very early days in a very interesting climate right now, but it looks like if things continue this way, you're going to have a whole host of cash buyers, low-rise buyers, now becoming condo buyers. So that's one thing to really look at. And the other thing is to continue to watch to see how the economy overall performs, because it could take another 6 months before we really get to see how all of these interest rates increases have really affected the economy. And so it's really important to keep your eye on GDP and unemployment and the velocity of how money is being spent. And I think that in turn will help determine what level of confidence buyers, cash buyers, are going to have who are buying completely dissuaded of what interest rates are at or the stress test. And I think the other thing is to really start to look at the condo market, knowing that we have residential low-rise sales starting to take off, how the condo market, both in terms of rentals and in terms of sales, responds, because we're in a situation where condos by June could be a lot more expensive than they are today. A lot of this, though, is going to be predicated on what happens with the economy, and the jury is still out on that front. So it's really difficult to ascertain on a day-to-day basis for anyone who follows the Toronto real estate market what's going to happen week over week or month over month. Over the short term, almost impossible to predict, but there seems to be a lot of the smart money and cash buyers really starting to come out of the woodwork, thinking that over the long term, 3, 5, 10 years, the long-term money is really becoming solidified in the belief that in the future prices are going to be a lot more expensive than they are today. And well, I happen to agree with them. So lots of interesting things to keep your eye on. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're not a subscriber, please smash that subscribe button.